Okay. We are on Nun Hey Amar Aleph. We are on 55A, 55A2. So the last thing we just concluded yesterday, we brought it to Yufta. We showed that you will not get an extra song for every extra Karban Musaf, more than you only get one on the deal. Meaning, on a Shabbat, on a regular Shabbat, there is a Musaf, extra Korbanot, you get extra korbanot, you get an extra song, and you get an extra 9 blasts of the 2 silver trumpets that come with the extra korban. But if Shabbat would also be Shabbat Rosh Chodesh, where now you have double header of Musaf. You have technically extra korbanot in honor of Shabbat, and you have extra korbanot in honor of Rosh Chodesh, or example of Rosh Hashanah, where you have 3 Musaf. You have 3, it's a triple header. Because on Rosh Hashanah, you got the extra korbanot in honor of, it's Rosh Hashanah is always a Rosh Chodesh, the first of the month. You have extra korbanot on Rosh Hashanah. You also have extra korbanot in honor of, it's Rosh Hashanah. And also, if Rosh Hashanah, good morning, if Rosh Hashanah comes down on Shabbat, then that's when you'll have the triple header, extra korbanot on Shabbat. So you can have 3 extra korban, 3 extra musafim, but nevertheless, you're not going to get 3 songs on the deal. You're only going to get, we're going to have 1 song that will cover all 3 of the musafim. And then the question is, what song would that be? Who would be the song that you're going to sing? Let's say on a Shabbat Rosh Chodesh, will you get the Shabbat song? Or will you get the Rosh Chodesh song? So the Gemara said earlier, you would get, according to the way, the conclusion of this Gemara, it would come out, you get the Rosh Chodesh song when it comes out on Shabbat. You would get the Rosh Chodesh song. So that was the conclusion of the Gemara. You did not get extra blast, extra song for every musaf. Only one musaf gets the extra song. And now when you have multiple, so then you'll do 1 song for all 3 or all 2. So now the Gemara says, okay, we came to that conclusion, but how do we deal with the rabbi who said you will get an extra song for every extra musaf? The rabbi who said you'll get extra blast for every extra musaf, because he brought a pasuk, and he brought a braita. See, this Gemara that we've been learning, we've been going through, it's already like 1, 2, almost 3 sides of Gemara. On Nun Dalid, on 54a, good morning, Simon, 54a, he brought a pasuk, he brought a braita. So how do you deal with the rabbi's pasuk? That pasuk, he used the verse to teach us the law that he understood. So how do we understand that? Because what was the pasuk? It says, Bnei Aaron HaKohanim, the Kohens, the Kohanim, says they are the ones that blow the trumpets. Yitku'u b'chasotzrot. They are the ones that blow the trumpets during the bringing of the Karban Olah, of the morning Olah Karban, the afternoon Olah, Rosh Chodesh, Musaf, the Musaf. They are the holidays. They are the ones that blow. So you have one pasuk that says that the Kohanim are the ones that blow the trumpets, and the Gemara said that the Braita says you don't need to say Yitku'u. You didn't need to tell me that they are the ones that blow the trumpets, because you already told me a different pasuk that says Utkatem b'chasotrom. You already told me they blow the trumpets. So why do you need to tell me again? Why do you need to tell me a second time, a second extra word? There's no extra word in the Torah. So why does the Torah emphasize that a second time they blow? Amen. So the Gemara said that it's coming to teach us the extra language of blowing teaches you, and the Braita says that you go ahead. Hakol lefi hamusafim tokim. The Braita says the extra word of Tekiah is come to tell us that every time you have a musaf, there's another blowing. That's the idea of the extra Tekiah. Meaning, if you would not have told me the extra word, you would have said, it doesn't make a difference how many musafim you got. You have one mitzvah to blow the trumpets on that day, and it does. You won't have each musaf would not get an extra blows. But the fact that you write a word, an extra word, which that extra word of Tekiah, of blows, he understands, means to tell us that you get extra blows for every musaf. So now the Gemara is asking, if you're disagreeing with this rabbi's opinion, but what do we do with this verse that's extra? And what do you do with the Braita? You're not going to want to argue on the Braita. The Braita seems to be saying you get extra blows for every musaf. And therefore, so the Gemara, which would mean every extra blows, extra song. So the Gemara says no. Amar Ravina. Ravina, Simon, we are on 55.8.2, top right corner. Amar Ravina, second paragraph. Amar Ravina, the pasuk does not mean the way Rav Acha understands it, and the Braita was not saying that you get extra blows, extra blasts of the trumpets for every musaf. It's an extra 9 blasts. Rather, Eloma shemarichin b'tikiyot. You lengthen the tikiyot. You meaning you go ahead and you blow the tikiyah. Let's say you have to go ahead and blow tikiyah, trua, tikiyah. Right? We said there's 3 sets. During the song, we said the song is broken into 3 parts, and there is 3 times they're going to blow a set of tikiyah, trua, tikiyah. Then they'll say a few more psukim, another tikiyah, trua, tikiyah, and then so a total of 9 sounds of the shofar, of the trumpets. And those sounds of the trumpets, I saw one of the commentators say that it was trumpets, but they also had the shofar, the same also. But it says b'chasotrot v'kol shofar peril lifnei Hashem. So they had both. But these 9 sounds, if you're having extra pourings of the nesachim, you're having multiple. When did they blow the trumpets? When they poured the wine on the mizbeach. Now you have the pouring of the wine on the mizbeach for one musaf, and then the pouring of the wine for the other musaf. So while they're pouring the wine, they're gonna extend. They're going to extend the sound of the trumpets. At the trumpet sounds, they'll finish the song. So the language here it says, "Marichim et kiyos," and they'll finish the song only after they've brought the wine of all of the musafim. So that means that by extending the sounds of the trumpets, therefore you're buying some time for them to pour the wine on the mizbeach, and therefore the song will only be finished only after they brought all the nesachim. Now, so the extra word of the tikiyot is coming to tell us, according to this opinion, that you will lengthen the tikiyot on such a day. And Rabbanan de Kisrei, Rabbanan from Kisrei, from the city of Kisrei, Mishmei de Rav Acha Amri, they say a different understanding of what the pasuk is telling us. And that's what the Braita means. The Braita doesn't mean you get extra blast, just you lengthen the blast. And he says, Loma shemarbe bitokim. Now what happens is, when you have extra musafim, you get extra trumpets on the deal. That the Torah is telling us, in honor of the extra musaf, We're not going to get extra song. We're not going to get extra sounds of meaning extra musical tkiya, trua, tkiya, tkiya, trua, tkiya. We're not going to have a number of sounds adding another 9 on the deal for each musaf. But what will you get? You'll have a larger band. You'll have a larger amount of people that will be blowing the trumpets. Loma marbe bitokim. You go ahead and you add the people that blow the trumpets. There is no max in how many trumpets could be blown at the time period of the bringing of the nesachim, the wine on the mizbeach. You can't have less than 2. So now the fact that they're all blowing simultaneously, it's all considered like one sound, meaning to say, if you have 10 trumpeters, I don't know if that's the word, you have 10 people blowing the trumpets, for that tekiah, that's called one tekiah. It's not an extra sound. It's not that you have, more than 9 on the deal. You got the same 9, but the 9 is much more pronounced when you have a larger band, when you have more people blowing the same musical note. But it's not extra, not like Rav Acha said, it's extra tekiyot, extra trua, extra tekiyot. No, same amount, same number. At the end of the day, if you're going to count how many sounds there were, same amount as if there was one musaf. But either you got more trumpets on the deal, or same amount of number, but it was extended. They blew it longer, and that would be the idea. Okay. Now the Gemara gets into a very, very interesting subject. The previous Braita, we spoke about when you have 2 things that come out on the same day, right? We had, let's say, Rosh Chodesh and Shabbat. What do you do regarding the song, right? We said that when you have a day of the year that has multiple titles, it's Shabbat, it's Rosh Chodesh. And you're only going to get one song on the deal. Which song takes precedence, right? That's what we spoke about. So now the Gemara now is going to move to something which is similar situation. What will be the situation? The davening, the prayer of Musaf on Sukkot. There's something interesting about Sukkot, the korbanot of Sukkot. Every day you brought a certain amount of parim, bulls. It's not the Chicago Bulls. It's a bull. And these bulls, you went ahead and you started with 13 bulls. And then you went the next day with 12, 11, right, until you got to 7. You got, that was the every day the amount of bulls went down. And why were the bulls going down every day? The amount of korbanot is usually, we have a law called ma'alim b'kodesh. We generally go up, we increase. Just like that's the reason for Beit Hillel, Chanukah. What do we say on Chanukah? The first day we go 1, the second day we do 2. Beit Shammai says no, 8 the first night, 7 the second. Beit Hillel says 1, 2, and one of the reasons for Beit Hillel is ma'alim b'kodesh. We move up. Just like the Shulchan Aruch says, what do you put on first in the morning? A few minutes after the class, you put on your talit, and then you put on your tefillin. Why that order? Talit and tefillin. Your tefillin is holier than your talit. Your tefillin has Hashem's name. So many names of Hashem are inside. You have the shin on the tefillin itself. You have the dalit, you have the yud. You have the holy writings of the Torah that are found inside the tefillin. There are 4 parshas in the tefillin. You go ma'alim b'kodesh. You go from one level of holiness to a higher level. Talit is one level. We wear our tzitzit, and we can wear our tzitzit in the bathroom. Every time we go to the bathroom, we don't need to take off our tzitzit. We don't bring our talit into the bathroom. Our tzitzit, we wear a tzitzit in the bathroom, but you can't wear your tefillin in the bathroom. Tefillin is much holier. So you move up ma'alim b'kodesh. So why is it that the Torah says bring less? day 2 bring less than day 1, and day 3 bring less than day 2, and so on, going less. So one idea is that if you do the counting, you do the math, if you count 13, 12 every day, the amount of bulls, by the time you finish, you have a total of 70 bulls. That's the total bulls that are brought, shivim parim, 70. All right, David, you're thinking about the math already? Shivim parim. And what's the idea of the shivim parim? We know there are 70 nations of the world. And the 70 bulls that we bring correspond to the 70 nations. We're going to see in the Gemara in what way, but there is an idea why it goes down every day is because all the nations that are enemies to us, those nations should decrease. They should get less. They should get destroyed. And that's the idea of the parim getting less and less. That's one idea. Is symbolic of those nations that want to destroy the Jewish people. The merit of bringing those bulls should be a merit that they should be those nations that want to destroy us. Obviously, nations that don't want to destroy us don't have to be destroyed. They can live and be well. But obviously, it's the nations that want to destroy the Jewish people. They should diminish. So now the question is, now you're saying you're Musaf Davening, right? And if you're in the Holy Land, there's no question. The Gemara has no question. Why? The first day of the holiday, we read in the Musaf the korbanot of that day, right? We say, what do we say? Let's say, what am I? Let's say we say on Shabbat. What do we say? B'yom Shabbat shnei kvasim b'nei shah temimim, right? But what do you do on Yom Tov? You say, let's say the Yom Tov of Sukkah, right? So you say, B'chamisha asa, right? You'll say what they brought on the 15th day of the month of Sukkah. But what do you do on now? But we in the land of America, or in that time in the land of Bavel and Babylon, you're going to have 2 days of Yom Tov. What are you going to read on day 2? Which psukim are you going to read on day 2? Which psukim do you read on day 2 of Yom Tov? Every day brought a different amount of korbanot. So we have a safek in the land outside of Israel. They used to have a safek. What day is the holiday, right? So they're going to go ahead. So what would they read? So day 1 they had to read the psukim of Yom Tov, and day 2 they're going to also read the psukim of Yom Tov. Because what are they going to read on day 2? Day 2, they're celebrating day 2 as holiday, right? What do? We keep the first 2 days of the holiday as holiday. On a Torah level, there's only 1 day holiday the first days, right? I mean, 1 day of holiday of Yom Tov. And you have 6 days Chol Hamoed. That's what they do in the land of Israel. But here, outside of Israel, what do? The first 2 days of holiday. And then now what do we do? So what are we going to do? On the second day of the holiday, we're also going to read the verses from the first day of the holiday. Why is that? Because if we're going to read the verses of the second day is Chol Hamoed. And that will make light Chol Hamoed. So now the question is going to be, what do we do on day 3? Day 3 of the holiday, do we read the verses? It's the first day of Chol Hamoed. So the first day of Chol Hamoed is really day 2 of the holiday, right? So the question is today, let's say on day 3, is today day 3, which we get the verses for day 3, or today is day 2? So what would you read? So that's the question of the Gemara. Vanan, we, the Itlan Treyome, Heichi Avdina. What do we do? We have 2 days of holiday. What do we do? That's the bottom of 55a2. Now I think we should look at the Rashi. I'll read the Rashi, because I think he explains it very, very beautifully, very eloquently. He doesn't need my approbation. You see the Rashi right over here, everybody? Anan, the Itlay, you see where it's golden? In the Hebrew side. Anan, the Itlay, Simon? Right over here. So Rashi says like this: Mishum da'iri b'shtei parshiyot hamu'urot liyom. We're talking about two matters, two things that happen on the same day. The dechinan chada mina. Let's say we had two chapters of Tehillim that you're supposed to say on the same day, two songs. And we said one song gets pushed away because of the other song. Kabayila. Therefore, we ask this similar question. Anan musafim. We who are required to say in the prayer of Musaf, et mutzvei hayom. We need to talk about the extra offerings that were brought on that day. The korbanot hachag einam shavim. The offerings of the holiday are not equal. They're not the same every day. And by the way, that's the reason why, it's one reason we say the whole Hallel every day of Sukkot, in contrast to Pesach. Pesach, we only say the whole Hallel the first 2 days of Pesach. Chol Hamoed, in the last days, we do not say the whole Hallel. Sukkot, we have 9 days of whole Hallel. Why is that? So one of the main reasons given is because Sukkot, every day is different korbanot. Every day is different. The being different is uniqueness, and it makes them more. Therefore, it deserves its own hallel, full hallel. But in Pesach, everything is the same. They don't get a whole hallel for Chol Hamoed. The korbanot hachag einan shavim. They are not equal. Shaporim mitmatin v'holchim. The bulls are getting less and less every day. The itlan trei yomei Yom Tov, and we have 2 days of Yom Tov originally because Succah. We don't know. Is today the first day of the holiday? Is tomorrow the first day of the holiday? Because remember, a Jewish month has either 29 days or 30 days. Day 30 it could be Rosh Chodesh, or day 31 could be Rosh Chodesh. If day 30 is Rosh Chodesh, so the holiday is coming in on the earlier end. If day 31 is Rosh Chodesh, the holiday is a day later. Because we don't know, because they didn't know, because why didn't they know? Because the witnesses that came to Jerusalem to testify that they saw the new moon, and the court accepted their testimony, and they announced in the old city, and they tried to get the word out, but it's very easy. You can get the word out in the land of Israel. Then it takes so long to get the word out in the land of Israel. It takes 5 days or whatever. But to get the word out outside of Israel takes time. It's not. There's no emails, no planes. You want to go to get the word out from Israel to Iraq. It takes time to get the word out from Israel to Iraq. Places that are 1,000 miles away, whatever it might be, takes time. So by the time the holiday of Sukkot came, many times in the diaspora, they didn't know. When did the court make a Rosh Chodesh? Was day 30 Rosh Chodesh? Was day 31 Rosh Chodesh? So if day 30 was Rosh Chodesh, the Torah says the 15th of the month of Tishrei, 15th of the 7th month, you go ahead, is holiday. So their holiday then it will be today's day 15. If they made day 31 Rosh Chodesh, then the holiday starts a day later. So therefore, what did they have to do? They play it safe, but they don't want to chas v'shalom do malacha, do work on the holiday. Morning, Ralph. In order that they shouldn't do work on the holiday, so what do they do? By the way, every minute counts. We're happy anytime you come. You don't have it. And we are on 55A 3. So we're in the Rashi. Every day we have to, each day when we're not sure when is Yom Tov. If Yom Tov today, if Yom Tov tomorrow, so we had to keep both days in holiness, right? We had to make sure we didn't do malacha any of those 2 days. Vanan de Be'inan. Now, V'lo matzina l'meima b'yom tov sheni parashat b'yom hasheni. On day 2, Ralph, this is the issue of the Gemara. We're outside the land of Israel, and we celebrate. We hold the first 2 days holiday, because we're not sure. Is day 1 holiday or day 2 holiday? So, and in the Musaf davening, we're going to mention the offerings that were brought on that day, right? We say b'yom hashlishi, parim whatever, b'yom ravi, right? Every day of Sukkot, you have to know what day of Sukkot you're on, right? When it comes to Pesach, if you don't remember what day of Pesach you're at, you're saying the same. It's the same verses about the Musaf. You have to be more on top of your game on Sukkot, because when you're saying the Musaf, what day am I saying? So now, you cannot recite in the Musaf on day 2 of Yom Tov the verses that mention the second day of Sukkot, because the second day of Sukkot, those verses are referring to the second day is Chol Hamoed. When the Torah says the second day of the holiday, what does that mean? If you're going to read on the Yom Tov, on the second day of Yom Tov, the verses of the second day of the holiday, it's as if you're saying today is Chol Hamoed. Because the Torah says on the first day of the holiday it's Kodesh. Second day holiday is not that level of Kodesh. So you can't read on the second day of the holiday what you're keeping like the first day, verses that refer to the second day. So now you can't read that. Now, Dimkain of Dina Lecho, you're making the second day of the holiday like a weekday. You must say on the second day of the holiday of Sukkot, the verses that deal with the 15th of the month, which is the verses of the first day. So you're going to have to say on day 1 and day 2, and that's exactly what we do, the verses of Chamisha Asayom, what they brought on the first day of the holiday. Chamisha Asa is the 15th. That was the first day of the holiday, 15th of the month of Tishrei. Now, Heiche of Dinan, Gemara's question is, what do we do in the Musaf of the first day of Chol Hamoed? Heiche of Dinan, the Musaf, Berishon Shel Chol Hamoed. What do we do on day 3 of Chol Hamoed? Ubeshar Yomim, and other days. Now let's talk out, you have the expression, let's talk it out, right, Mr. Ava? Let's talk out the question. Day 3 of the holiday, the way let's say we're outside of the land of Israel. Day 1, we didn't do malacha. Day 2, we didn't do malacha. Day 3, now we do certain things we're allowed, it's Chol Hamoed. First day of Chol Hamoed. Which verses do we say? Now, do we say the verses that the Torah says for day 3 of the holiday? Do we say the verses of day 2 of the holiday? Because we were not sure. Is today's day 3 or day 2? So Rashi says, do we say on the third day the verses of the second day, that should have been said yesterday, but I couldn't say it yesterday, because if I would call that second day of Yom Tov set this B'Yom HaSheni, I would use those verses. That means I made it into a weekday. So I cannot say those verses of the second day. So now, do I make it up on day 3? Do I mention the verses of day 2? But if I do it that way, but if I go that order, then what happens is when the 7th day of the holiday comes, right? What will happen on the 7th day of the holiday? Then I'm only going to be saying the verses of day 6. When I get to the 7th day of the holiday, Hoshana Rabbah, morning Charles. When I get to the seventh day of the holiday, so I would have been up to the sixth day of the bulls. Because if on day 3 of the holiday I mentioned the bulls of day 2, day 4 I mentioned the bulls of day 3, so by day 7 I mentioned day 6. Now I didn't mention yet the bulls of day 7, and on day 8 is Shmini Atzeret. I can't mention the bulls of 7. When I mention the bulls of 7 on Shmini Atzeret, then I'm making it not the day of Shmini Atzeret. I'm making it the day of Sukkot. Have a great day, Charles. So how is it? So what will I do? I'm going to do I lose out the verses of day 7? And I go in that order. On the day of Arava, that means Hoshana Rabbah is called the seventh day of Arava. You'll say the sixth. You'll say B'yom HaShishi, and therefore you're going to miss out the verses of day 7 of the holiday. V'al korchach l'macha shehu yom tov lo matzos l'meim b'yom hashvi. On Shmini Atzeret, I can't say the verses of day 7 because the imkain avdet lechol. I made Shmini Atzeret a weekday. If I refer to as day 7, I made it to Chol Hamoed. V'nimsa shvi nidcha. If we go in this order, if we do it this way, we pushed away the verses that have to do with the 7th day of the holiday of Sukkot. We mentioned it's a Musaf, but we didn't mention the verses never got said. Or Dilmo, perhaps Yoma Kama Armina B'Yom Shlishi. Maybe you know what you skip the 2nd day's verses. On day 3, which is the first day of Chol Hamoed, you say B'Yom HaShlishi. That's the other possibility. On day 3, I say B'Yom HaShlishi. Day 4, I say B'Yom Ravi. Day 7, I say B'Yom HaShvi. And I never got to say the verses of day 2. David, is it clear? Chutz La'aretz. Exactly. Outside the land of Israel, what is the appropriate thing to do with the verses of that day? What are the verses that are appropriate to say in Chutz La'aretz on day 1 of Chol Hamoed? Do you refer to the verses of day 2? Your verses of day 3. If you refer to day 3, then you never said the verses of day 2. And so how do you do it? Now we're going to see the conclusion we're going to see is we're going to do both. We're going to say both. We'll mention the verses of day 2 and the verse of day 3 on day 3. Therefore, if you do both, then you avoided the whole issue. Right, exactly. In the land of Israel, they're not saying Uvayom HaSheni, Uvayom HaShlishi. They know today is the 2nd day. That's it. It was never a question. Oh, and Rashi concludes, Dilma, or perhaps Yom Kama Minan, maybe the first day of Chol Hamoed, you say Uvayom HaShlishi. You mentioned today's day 3 of the holiday. V'sheni nitcha mikomo, and the 2nd day's verses were pushed away. Nishu safek yitchel legamri, because you didn't know, so you won't say it at all. So the Gemara says this is a matter of dispute. Abaye Yoma Sheni Yidche. Abaye says, what do you say? No. Rashi leaves it. Rashi now left the question, and now we just explained the Gemara's question. 2 sides of the coin. Now we have 2 sides of the coin. Now the Gemara is going to say there's 2 rabbis. Each rabbi took a different side of the coin. One rabbi says, you know what? You push away, you lose. You never will mention the verses of day 2. And one rabbi says, no. You'll never mention the verses of day 7. You will. That's going to be the 2 different opinions in the Gemara. Abaye Yoma Sheni Yitche. Abaye says, you know what's going to lose out? You'll never mention the 2nd day's verses. And Rava Oma Shvi'i Yitche. And Rava is going to say that you go ahead and you'll never mention the verses of day 7. You'll only mention, because on day 3 you'll talk about day 2, and day 4 you'll talk about so on and so forth. And the Gemara says, Tanya Kavotei the Rava. So we have a Braita that is according to Rava's opinion that you would skip day 7, would lose out. Why? Because we have our Gemara. What did we say if Shabbat and Sukkot when they Chol Hamoed, and Shabbat comes out during the holiday of Sukkot, we say that the song of Shabbat pushes away the song of Chol Hamoed, right? And whatever that, let's say you're on day 3 of Chol Hamoed, and day 3 is Shabbat. So you don't do the song that's appropriate for day 3 of Chol Hamoed, and you say the song of Shabbat. But what do you do on day 4? We say day 4, you do the day 3 song. Day 5, the day 4 song. So what happens at the end of the day is you're never going to say the day 7 song. Right? It says Yimotun Yitchet. That song that would have been said on day 7. So too the Gemara says. We see that the last thing, right, you pick up where you left off, you just put things on hold, and therefore everything's one day behind. If you're one day behind, so on day 7, you're not going to be saying the song on day 7, you're going to be saying the day of day 6. And therefore, so too, on day 7 of the holiday, you'll be doing the 6 days of the verses, have to do with the 6 days offerings, and you'll never have the verses of day 7. We'll continue tomorrow to conclude this piece. Have a great day, everybody. David, what do you say? Keeping you on your toes. What did you say? Yeah, 100%. Oh, you're taking it tomorrow. Very good. We'll see you tomorrow, Ralph. Great to see you. I hear you. No problem. No problem. We love any.